Hey, I'm Mariah Carey.
This is Scott from Foghat.
This is Faith Hill.
Ho, ho, ho. This is your singing Santa, Eddie Kendricks.
This is Anna Wilson, and you're listening to The Sounds of Christmas
Podcast.
Hi, I'm Ken Kessler, and welcome to the Sounds of Christmas podcast. If you're new to this podcast, I want to start by saying thanks for joining us. If you're not new, welcome back. Either way, I'm glad you're here. Now, to avoid any confusion, I want to start off by saying there won't be any music played here. This is a place for conversation. I'll talk about Christmas music and some related topics, sometimes by myself and sometimes with guests. If you're looking for music, just go to soundsofchristmas.com and click on the tree or the player on the front page or on the Listen Now page. We play the best variety of Christmas music all year long. Well, except in October, when we play the best variety of Halloween music. If you're listening to a podcast that focuses on Christmas and Christmas music, you are certainly familiar with Mariah Carey's giant Christmas hit, All I Want for Christmas Is You. There's a good chance you also know Vince Vance and the Valiant song, also called All I Want for Christmas Is You. You might even know that Vince Vance songwriter Andy Stone sued Mariah Carey and Sony Music over the two similarly named songs, claiming copyright infringement. Old news, right? I think the lawsuit was filed at least 2 years ago, which always struck me as odd since Mariah's song came out in 1994. And really, from the moment it came out to now, it would be close to impossible to be unaware of it. Nevertheless, Stone was suing for $20 million. Anyway, the latest is that Judge Monica Ramirez Almadani cited expert testimony saying the two songs simply shared, quote, Christmas song cliches, end quote, that were common to several earlier hits, and she tossed the case. Judge Almadani also ruled that Mr. Stone and his lawyers should face sanctions for filing frivolous arguments that included vague and incomprehensible mixtures of factual assertions and conclusions, subjective opinions, and other irrelevant evidence. She ordered Mr. Stone and his lawyers to repay the legal bills Carey incurred in defending the case. Mariah reportedly spent more than $180,000 fighting the lawsuit. Quote, the court should consider that Vance was seeking, among other things, $20 million in damages, injunctive relief, and even the destruction of all copies of All I Want for Christmas Is You, end quote, Carey's attorney stated, per Billboard magazine. New York University professor Lawrence Ferreira testified that there were no significant melodic similarities between the two songs. He added that he'd discovered at least 19 songs predating Mr. Stone's track that had similar lyrical ideas, several of which were also called All I Want for Christmas Is You. On that basis, Judge Almadani ruled in favor of the motion to dismiss. The Vince Vance song, which was released in 1989, charted on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart on 6 separate occasions in the 1990s. While Mariah's song was released in 1994, Sony didn't release it as a single, which made it ineligible to chart on Billboard's singles chart for several years, until Billboard ditched that requirement in 1998. I don't think I need to talk about how successful Mariah's song has been and continues to be. I've covered that on a previous episode, possibly on more than one previous episode. The thing that has really struck me about Stone's lawsuit is that it seemed to be based mostly on the song title. And as Professor Ferreira had pointed out in this copyright trial, there had been plenty of songs before either of these that had the same title, and at least one since. I don't know how many he found, but here's what I've come across, and by that I mean these are the ones I play on the Sounds of Christmas station. First, there's Carla Thomas. Her song, All I Want for Christmas Is You, came out in 1963 and again in 1966, the latter version being almost a full minute longer. The 1966 version was released as a single, but failed to show up on the charts. The rock band Foghat recorded a song called All I Want for Christmas Is You in 1981. This one was promotional, just sent to radio stations, though it did start showing up on compilations about 5 years later. There are also 2 different versions of it, and if you're a DJ on the radio and you play the wrong one, you could wind up in a lot of trouble. On his 1995 album, What Christmas Really Means, Peter McCann recorded an original song with the same title, All I Want for Christmas Is You, which he actually wrote in 1982. This one has a very Loggins and Messina kind of feel, and a year before he released it, he joked to a friend that he wished he could copyright a song title, since Mariah's song had the same title. He should have told Andy Stone that. Anyway, McCann was known more as a songwriter, having written songs for Jennifer Warnes, Crystal Gale, and Whitney Houston, just to name a few, than as a performer himself, so this song didn't chart. In 2001, I think, Eric Alexandrakis released an EP called Here Comes the Snow, which included his original song, All I Want for Christmas Is You. Liam Payne's single from 2019 was officially called All I Want for Christmas, but it does contain the line, All I Want for Christmas Is You. I have around 24 songs in the Sounds of Christmas library that are all titled All I Want for Christmas. Not the exact same title, I know, but I'm pretty sure, at least for some of them, they have similar themes. I'm also pretty sure if I went through the lyrics, I'd be able to add plenty more songs to this list. I guess if Stone's lawsuit had gone anywhere, then in turn, Carla Thomas would have been able to sue him. And Peter McCann, Foghat, and everybody else I've mentioned. The closest I've seen to anyone supporting Stone in this lawsuit that wasn't connected to him or the suit was a Facebook friend who commented that they liked his song better than Mariah's, which is just personal preference, of course, and has nothing to do with the merits of this case, though Stone probably would have liked to have heard that. Anyway, since this story is floating around now, and since I've talked about Mariah and this song, and even this lawsuit before, I thought I'd revisit it one last time to offer closure, since this case is finally over. Thanks so much for listening, helping me share some Christmas spirit, and for continuing to support the Sounds of Christmas station and podcast. I told you how to listen to the station, and you're listening to the podcast now, so my work here is just about done. All of our episodes are available on the Sounds of Christmas website. Just click the podcast tab. And we also have a Linktree page, and I'll put a link to that down in the show notes, that lists most, if not all, of the sites that stream the Sounds of Christmas podcast. So you can click on that, find your favorite, click on over, and then subscribe, and you'll never miss another episode. If you have comments or suggestions on this episode, previous episodes, or the Sounds of Christmas station, feel free to reach out to me on social media or through the website. And if you're listening to this episode on your phone, you can also click the Send Us a Text Message link and connect that way. Thanks again, and may you always believe in Santa Claus.